Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to my new video. My name is AJ. I'm here to talk about a number of news articles happening around the world, and I'm also here to give you my opinions as well. So without wasting any more time, let's carry on with the show. So I'm going to start with something light, and I'm going to get heavier and heavier as the video goes on. I don't know if anyone follows the Eurovision Song Contest. I've not been following it for years, mainly because UK always ends up at the bottom with nil points. And it's quite funny to see how some of these articles are still saying that UK is the favourite. There's no doubt that Ukraine is the favourite this year, and I'm pretty sure that all of these European countries will vote for Ukraine no matter how crappy the song is. And I'm pretty sure the song is going to be really crap. If anyone watches Eurovision Song Contest, it's worth watching it just for a laugh. And well, you also need to put some earmuffs on so you don't have to listen to the crappy music. And it's really funny to see all of the British reactions when they get 0 points, especially when they feel that they are one of the favourites. And it's quite funny to see how they put themselves as favourites alongside Ukraine. I mean, this Eurovision Song Contest, I don't even know why it's coming on TV. It's all political. There's nothing about talent. It's all woke nonsense. I mean, one year you have this transsexual person winning the Eurovision Song Contest only because of the diversity part of it, and another time you have this weird woman with a beard. Oh, I don't know. I'm just sick of it all. It's all politics. It's all wokeness, and this year's going to be quite interesting. And watch everyone voting for Ukraine and giving UK nil points. And I think it'll be quite funny to see. So anybody watching this budget, this 40 billion budget that everybody thought will go through with no issues whatsoever, it is hitting some snags. And there are some clips going around how people in Congress are saying, America can't afford baby formula, yet is willing to send 40 billion to Ukraine. And everybody knows this money is going to end up in the pockets of the defense contractors, people who have shares in defense companies, some people of the Congress themselves, and it's just going to be laundered through. And only 1%, not even 1%, will go to the Ukrainian people. And it's absolutely sickening how corrupted this system is. And it's always been like that. You've got over $1 trillion going into Afghanistan. Apparently, over the last 20 years, that America has been invading it. And then, if you look at Afghanistan now, where has that money gone? It's not gone into any infrastructure. It's not gone to Afghani people. It's not gone to any countries. It's all gone to defense companies, defense contractors, and some people of the Congress. Not all of them, but some of them. And it's absolutely sick and disgusting how this carries on. And you have to give some respect of a few people in the Senate who are standing up to this and saying this is wrong. Few months ago, they would have probably been kicked out, told them to shut up or something. But now people in America are starting to question all of this narrative that's being played through. And people are seeing that, there's no baby formula. There's a food shortage. There's a lot of problems happening in America, and people are waking up. And people are not stupid in America. All of this Putin price hike is not working. It's not working at all. And you can see from this article, Americans aren't buying Putin's price hike because inflation was rising well before Russia went into Ukraine, well before this fight. Inflation was rising. There was problems with America, and this is decades and decades of issues. There's homelessness. There's a lot of issues with America, and people are not buying it. People's enemies is not Russian. When Trump came into power, he started this huge anti-Chinese thing for all the Americans to hate the Chinese. And they went along with this narrative. They're like, oh, we hate Chinese and a lot of violence against Chinese people. Then suddenly they're expected to hate all the Russians now. And nobody's talking about the Chinese in America anymore. Now Russians are the number one enemy. And people are sick of this stupid narrative. 1 minute is you gotta hate the Muslims, 1 minute you gotta hate the Chinese, 1 minute you gotta hate the Russians. It's absolutely ridiculous. And people are not buying it because people are going out in the streets. People can see how food prices are increasing. They can see how gas prices are increasing. They can see people becoming homeless more and more around America. People having drug issues all over America. And recently, there has been over 1 million COVID deaths. America has reached that milestone of 1 million COVID deaths. You can see 1 million COVID deaths they've reached. And this is because they have a lack of health care. Because a lot of people in America, if they got COVID, they do not want to call the ambulance. They do not want to go to the hospital because they're going to get a huge bill. So what these people in America do, they stay at home. They think they can ride it out, and in the morning they're dead, and because they don't want to go to the hospital because they can't afford it. And this is why there is 1 million COVID deaths in America. And not only that, there is a huge drug issue in America. Over 100,000 had died of fentanyl overdose. Then you got another 100,000 of heroin. Then another 100,000 of cocaine. There is more people dying in America than there people are born, and now babies who are born can't get formula milk. It's crazy. This is supposed to be the richest country in the world, and American babies can't afford to have formula milk. And then you have all of these idiots in the Senate, idiots in Congress, and some idiots in Twitter as well. I have read a lot of Twitter comments saying, oh, it doesn't really matter, women should breastfeed, you can give babies normal milk and stuff like that. These people do not know. They're just really stupid. They just do not know what's it like to be a mother. And some mothers cannot breastfeed because of medical complications, or some women just can't breastfeed at all. And also, formula milk, it basically complements breast milk. So you can do breastfeeding as normal, but you give them formula milk as well, just to give the babies a bit of extra strength. You give them a boost to the immune systems and things like that. You cannot have a replacement for formula milk. You cannot say just give them normal milk. It's absolutely stupid, absolutely ridiculous. And you can see how stupid some of these people are that put these ridiculous comments in there. And there have been a few people in the Senate as well making these comments as well. People are not stupid. They could see gas prices were increasing well before Russia went into Ukraine. And everything that Joe Biden has said is basically lied to the American people. And his comments are all over Fox News, CNN. It goes back to the time in Afghanistan when he said, no way the Taliban would be able to take over the country, no way over my dead body. A few weeks later, the Taliban have taken over the country. Then he said, no way would any American soldiers be killed. And 1 week later, there was a bombing in Afghanistan and many American soldiers were killed. And lies after lies after lies, he's been caught out. And you can see here as well, you can see days after announcing the sanctions in March in support of Ukraine, Biden bragged that as a result of the sanctions, the ruble was almost immediately reduced to rubble. Well, that wasn't true because the ruble has already bounced back and is now stronger than it ever was. And then he started bragging this, the Russian economy is on track to be cut in half, he continued, or he bragged. And that prediction didn't age well as well. The ruble swiftly rebounded and is now worth more than it was even prior to the conflict. And the Russian economy is not suffering. Russia recently announced it has a record amount of wheat production. So the people are not going to starve in Russia. They've got the energy, they've got wheat, they've got the raw materials, they've got the partnership with China. So they can get all of the technology from China. So they don't need America or the West at all. They don't need the West at all. Biden's disapproval rate is at an all-time low as well. And you can see many Americans don't agree with the preoccupation of Ukraine. Only 16% of those perceived Russia as the most significant threat behind China, Iran, and even North Korea. So you see, all of a sudden, Russia has suddenly become a super threat, and America is sending all of its money, even money it doesn't have, all the way to Ukraine. And a lot of people in America don't even know where Ukraine is on the map. And they don't really care. It's problems at home that they care about. If everything is fine at home, yeah, fine. Go save Ukraine. Go do whatever you want. So if you look at the history of America and all of these wars it had, every single war, they've pretty much lied to the American public, and the Americans have been suffering for it. They have funneled trillions and trillions into wars. That money could have gone into America, help the homeless, help those ones in need, help put people out of poverty, fix its infrastructure. America could have done so much if it wasn't for funneling trillions and trillions of dollars in wars. They lied to the American people about Vietnam. They said, oh, if we don't go into Vietnam, communism will take over the world. They will take over, all the countries will be communist, and it's a big threat. And they lied about Iraq, saying there's weapons of mass destruction. They lied about Afghanistan as well. And none of the Afghanis were involved in 9/11. Nobody from Afghanis. It was mainly Saudis and Yemenis. And, American people have just been lied to to fund these wars and fund, these proxy wars over the years. And a lot of people are starting to wake up now. They know it's all BS, absolute BS. It's not just America who's suffering. Britain is suffering really, really badly at the moment. I'll be honest with you. I went to the supermarket and there's no chicken. Absolutely no more fresh chicken. And I went to a shop called Leon. And again, they don't have any chicken in there. And when I look at the news, and they're blaming it on salmonella, apparently. There is a big salmonella scare, and basically there's a huge shortage of chicken. And me and the missus tried to go to our local Nando's today, and we found out the Nando's we normally go to is closed because they don't have chicken. So this food shortage is actually real. It's actually happening right now. There's no sunflower oil in supermarkets. And if you go to a supermarket, half the shelves are empty. And they try to hide it. If you have an empty shelf, they try to hide it by putting different items in there, or advertisements in the middle of the shelves, or out-of-date goods, or they're just trying to hide these empty shelves. They don't want to seem that it's empty. Rather than putting products at the back of other products, what they do, they put it side by side so it doesn't look empty, so you don't look like you have empty shelves. Then you have all of these people that work in supermarkets. They are trained now basically to put products side by side, so they don't want to make the shelves look empty. So what they do, rather than put the products at the back like normally supermarkets do, they just put it side by side now, and they've all been trained to do that. And they're walking around checking for empty shelves, and if there's anything empty, they put products side by side. Well, that's what's happening around UK, and people are falling for it. They can't see how bad it's going to get. And if you are living in UK, I'm just going to give you a word of advice. Last couple of weeks, I've been stocking up on dried food, things like rice, dried pasta, things that don't run out of date. Things like tuna, sweet corn, noodles, dried food that takes a long time for it to go out of date. That stuff needs to be stocked up, because there's going to come a time when the food shortage is going to be so bad. There's going to be riots out in the streets. These products are not going to be found anywhere because everyone's going to be rushing in to get these things. So right now, while it's cheap, while it's accessible, I'm kind of stocking up on it, and I'll probably advise the rest of you to do so. Even if you're not living in UK, I would still advise you to do that, because there is a huge food shortage happening, and there is going to be riots in the streets. When people don't have food, human instincts kick in. You can be the nicest person in the world. You don't have a criminal record. You've never done a thing wrong in your life. You've never stole or shoplifted. You never did anything illegal. You didn't even, get any points in your car when you were driving. But when you have a family to feed and you got kids and there's no food anymore, you would do anything to make sure your kids are fed. You would go to the supermarket. You would break into shops. This is human survival instincts. People do that. And people do it in America as well. I mean, look at the crime rate. It's gone up so high in America. They don't even bother with shoplifting anymore, because homelessness is such a big crime in all the major American cities, and all these homeless guys do is break into shops and get free food for themselves. They shoplift because they don't have any money, so where else are they going to get it from? And the police are sick and tired of arresting these homeless guys, putting them in a cell, wasting taxpayers' money, and then letting them out again, because what they're going to do to these homeless people, what they're going to do, put them in prison because they're stealing food. And look how many homeless people there are. There are, some cities have hundreds and thousands of homeless people. What they're going to do, put them all in prison? They can't. Taxpayers just don't have that capacity, and they don't have the budget to house all of these homeless people and feed them. If a homeless person goes to prison, they'll be laughing because they got free food, they got free shelter, so they don't mind if they go to prison. So crime has gone out of the roof in America, and it's happening in UK as well. And I'm seeing it happen all over UK. It's really, really bad. So when you got this guy basically, he's all over Twitter at the moment, and a lot of people in England are just, having a laugh at this guy. I mean, this guy seems to be not knowing what the hell he's doing, and he's on an interview and he's making these funny noises when they asked him about, food crisis and cost of living crisis. He's making these funny noises and funny accents, and I will show you how bad it is. It's absolutely ridiculous. Let me show you.
Constantly looking at ideas in order to ensure that we relieve the pressure on people who are facing incredibly tough times. But that doesn't amount to an emergency budget, which is what some people immediately thought that it did. It is an example of some commentators chasing their own tails and trying to take a statement that is commonsensical, turning it into a major capital letters, a big news story, and in fact, when the Treasury quite rightly say, calm down, then people, instead of recognising that they've overinflated the story.
So we have these stupid idiots in the parliament. You got some of them taking drugs, some of them looking at porn, and you got some of these idiots who are just completely stupid. And rather than him talking about serious issues, and this guy's basically been slated all over Twitter for making up funny noises and stupid accents and stuff. And it's just ridiculous, the state of British Parliament and who voted for these idiots to be in power is absolutely beyond me, seriously. So even Germany is now warning of global hunger as well. And people that know Germany over the years has had a huge industry, and its industry, with so many major companies, car companies, and hi-fi, stereo, you got Bosch, you got Siemens, you got some of the best, technology companies all over Europe are German companies and car companies. They have been doing really, really well. And this industry has been paying for Germany's healthcare systems, its education, and people have been living very, very well in Germany. I know Germans myself, and over the last few decades, Germans have been living very well. They're very, very happy. They're very proud of the country, and they've been living very well. The cost of living isn't that high. Things have suddenly taken a trip for the worst. Cost of living has suddenly shot up, and now these industries could be in danger of being shut down because of the cost of energy, cost of oil, cost of gas. And if that shuts down, then all of these benefits that the Germans have been getting over the years, things like healthcare, that also could be shut down as well. And Germany could be on its way to becoming like Britain. I mean, you just got to look at Britain to see how Germany could end up like. And now Germany's even worried about global hunger as well. And recently, which I'm going to talk about a bit later on, I'm going to be talking about India. India has now stopped selling wheat outside of India now, which is going to make things even worse. Obviously, Russia has had an amazing season for wheat and agriculture, and Putin has already said this. There's nothing coming out of Ukraine at the moment. So there is going to be a huge global hunger at the moment. And if India has stopped exporting wheat, what other major country is left is Russia. So you have all of these countries going to be clamoring around Russia, asking for Russia to sell its wheat. And who do you think Russia's going to sell it to? Obviously, they're not going to sell it to their unfriendly countries. They're going to start selling it to the friendly countries, countries like China, countries in the Middle East, countries in Africa. So they will basically get all of their quotas done in those countries first. Then the friendly countries will be like, unfriendly countries will be like, oh, can we have some? Russia's going, no, sorry, we ain't got any left. So that's why I can see Europe having a huge food crisis, and people are going to wake up in the next few months and see what a major issue it is at the moment. So talking about Russia, you can see from the figures, Russia's oil revenue is soaring despite sanctions. So, the Europeans are talking about sanctioning more Russian oil. They can't do anything. Even if they sanction it and ban Russian oil, Russia will sell it to China, to India. There's other markets. There's Southeast Asia. Southeast Asian countries are growing stronger than European countries. Their economy is growing much faster. Their industry needs more and more oil. Their industry needs more and more gas. So Russia will be happy to sell it to them rather than going into Europe, where Europe is on its way down. And absolutely ridiculous how they think they can, destroy Russia or can affect Russia just by banning Russian oil. They're just shooting themselves in the foot. Absolutely stupid. I mean, you got people like von der Leyen destroying the German economy, destroying the European economy, and everyone's just letting her. If I was in the European Parliament, first thing I would do is make sure this woman gets arrested and put in prison, because she is basically single-handedly trying to destroy Europe and trying to destroy Germany and Britain as well. It's absolutely ridiculous. Back in the day when you had German Nazis, you have these female SS officers who are actively torturing people, and she reminds me of one of those German SS officers, literally gets off on torturing people, and that's what she's doing now. Every time she speaks, I just have an image of her as a German SS officer with a German Nazi hat and a Nazi uniform, talking her nonsense, talking her ridiculous propaganda. It just reminds me of that. She's single-handedly trying to destroy Europe, and these idiots are just following her. It's absolutely ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. And then you have Bulgaria. Bulgaria is one of the countries where natural gas has been blocked by Russia because they refuse to pay in rubles. And you can see Bulgaria's natural gas price has now surged. It's gone up. It's gone up by quite a lot, and it's going to keep going up. He says it has soared by 13.7%, but this is only we're still in May at the moment, and this percentage is still going to be going up month after month after month. And don't forget, China is still in lockdown, so the world market is calmed down at the moment in terms of oil and gas. Is very calm. But once China is back into full swing again, you can guarantee the gas prices and oil prices are just going to shoot up. They'll go over 150, it could even go up to 200. So let's talk about NATO and Finland. So Turkey has recently come out and said they are not going to support Finland and Sweden joining NATO. And they're not supporting because of Russia. I think Turkey is playing a bit clever. They are not supporting it because Kurds, enemies of Turkey, have been given a safe passage into Sweden and into Finland as well. So Turkey is saying that these countries are harboring terrorists or state-sponsored terrorists. So that's why we are not going to support Finland and not going to support Sweden joining NATO. And Erdogan has always been outspoken when it comes to the West, and Erdogan has always been outspoken when it came to Biden's hugely unsuccessful Afghanistan adventure. He's been very outspoken of some of Biden's policies, some of the West policies over the years, and I'm pretty sure that he'd want something in return to give Finland and Sweden unanimous decision, because when you have NATO, all of the countries need to have a unanimous decision in getting new members in. So if you're Turkey, which is a massive NATO player, suddenly says no, we're not going to accept it, then there is a problem. But I'm pretty sure that Turkey will be given bribes, and Turkey needs a lot of money at the moment. I mean, look at Turkey's economy, it's almost ready to collapse. So I'm pretty sure Turkey will be asking for a lot of money for them to say yes. A lot of American money, a lot of European money, and it will take a lot. So this adventure has suddenly become very expensive for not only Europe but also for America. And I'm pretty sure Erdogan will strike a hard bargain. And eventually this will pass, because the Europeans and the Americans are not going to allow Turkey to stop Finland and Sweden from joining. I believe there will be some sort of bribe going on. And if Turkey gets a bribe, other European countries will also, other NATO countries will also want a bribe as well. Countries like Slovakia also mentioning they might not be happy with it, but there might be other countries as well which might say, all right, you're giving Turkey this much, we want the money as well. So it's not as easy as people make it out to be, but I'm pretty sure that with American money and European money, they will make it easy. So you got this map here, and I want to show you how close Finland is to St. Petersburg. And you can see from this square, St. Petersburg is right next to Finland borders, and St. Petersburg is a very important country for Russia. I myself have visited St. Petersburg, and it's absolutely beautiful. One of the best cities I've ever been to in my life. People are amazing, the architecture is amazing, some of the buildings, and I had a really good time in St. Petersburg. It's one of the best cities. I'd really hugely recommend anyone to visit there. Great city. And that's the problem, really. It's right next to Finland. And if Finland joins NATO, you can imagine St. Petersburg being the first target in any war or retaliation or any conflict. So Russia would not want that. So what is Russia willing to do? Well, they can put nukes. You can see here, Russia weighs in on nukes in the Baltics. They can put loads of nukes around it, around Finland. But that's not going to help much. I mean, Russia has enough nukes as it is, and pointing more at Finland is just not going to help much. And most wars are conventional wars, and it's not really going to help much of their security. If NATO or America uses Finland to put their own nukes in there, that's a major problem for Russia. And I'm not sure how they can play it. One way they can play it is to stop natural gas and electricity to Finland, put sanctions on Finland. And you can see Russia has already started. It halts electricity supply to Finland. And Finland has got a very good trade relationship with Russia at the moment. And so did Ukraine back in the day. Back in the day when Ukraine was friendly towards Russia, they had a massive trade with Russia. Ukraine was doing really well at that time with the trade that was going on. And since the coup happened in 2014, that trade has come to almost zero. It has severely affected Ukraine's economy, its GDP, because the Europeans are not trading with Ukraine as much as people think. And Ukraine's GDP is actually gone worse than compared to when he was trading really well with Russia at the time. So I can see Finland economy going down, because Finland needs a lot of stuff from Russia, like energy, for example, and has a border with Russia, so there is a lot of trade that goes in and out of Russia. So that will probably stop as well. I think in the long term, probably not in the short term, because Russia is focused on Ukraine at the moment. So once Russia finishes with Ukraine, denazifies it, demilitarizes it, probably splits in half, and once all the stuff is over with Ukraine, I believe Russia will not intervene militarily with Finland. I think they will put a lot of missiles around Finland. But in the future, I can see conflicts happening, especially with NATO. There will be conflicts happening in the Arctic. There will be conflicts for resources. There will be conflicts for energy. We are heading towards a lot of energy shortages, a lot of countries fighting over energy, fighting over food, fighting over resources, and globalization is going to be over, pretty much over, and there's going to be a bipolar world where you have the American Western side and you will have the Chinese Eastern side, and some parts of the East and Russia have stuff that America might need, and vice versa. There might be some stuff in the West that the Chinese or the Russians might need, and they'll be fighting for resources, especially in the Middle East. They'll be fighting for resources like rare earth and iron ore in Africa and things like that. So there will be huge resource wars because it's a bipolar world. It's not globalized. There'll be a lot of fights going on to fight over these resources and fight over control of these resources. And one of the main resources right now is lithium. They need that for electric cars, and they are already fighting for resources for lithium around the world, and that could be one example as well. But there are other examples. I'll need to make another video about it. So this is what I was talking about. India bans wheat exports, and India is one of the major wheat exports of the world. It's probably the third major wheat exporter behind Russia and also behind Ukraine. Ukraine is a huge wheat exporter, and India has now banned wheat exports. So the only major wheat exporter around the world is going to be Russia. So the whole world's going to be looking at Russia to feed them. Russia's only going to be supporting countries that are friendly to itself. And so this is going to cause huge issues, if huge food shortage, especially in the Middle East. I remember the times when there was the Arab Spring, and there was only a minor food shortage issue, and it caused huge amounts of riots in the Middle East. One of the major problems which happened with Libya as well, and other major countries around Egypt, but it's already starting to happen right now. There's huge amounts of protests going on in Iran at the moment, and also in Egypt. So we'll see what happens over the next few weeks, but it's not looking too good. India is also having other major issues as well. There's a huge crisis in India at the moment, where birds are literally falling out the sky because it's so hot, and because of global warming, India is having huge issues with global warming, and a country which is that hot is going to suffer, because when you have heat of that magnitude, you will have less water. Your water levels will dry up even faster, because more people will want water. Secondly, your industry is not going to do that well because it's so hot, and a lot of people are not going to feel like working. I know in England, when it gets really, really hot, I just don't feel like working, and you can't do any labor work because it's so hot. But even in an office, you have to make sure that the office is air-conned and stuff, and even inside the office, you just don't feel like working because it's so hot. And when it gets that hot, there's so many economic issues that you will have in that country. So you will need a lot more air conditioning units, and air conditioning units take a lot of energy. I don't know if anyone has had an air conditioning machine, especially in hot countries. It takes a lot of energy. You need a lot of gas, you need a lot of oil, and so India will be burning a lot of energy during the summer for people to keep cool, and it's going to drain the economy. There's going to be less harvest as well, because when you're growing grains and fruit and vegetable, you need things to be in a certain temperature. If it gets too hot, it's not good. If it gets too cold, obviously it's not good. But you need a lot of water as well. So India is losing a lot of water. There's a lot of research happening at the moment where India's water is slowly running out. Most of the major rivers are slowly coming down. The Alps, where the water is coming from, these are melting at a much faster rate, and India could see a major shortage of water in the next few years. Even last year, India had a shortage of water. Cities like Delhi were rationing water, and it's already happening right now. So there are huge problems happening in India and that part of the world, especially Pakistan as well. and the heat waves is beyond human endurance, and there'll come a time when it gets so hot even the shade is not going to help, because it gets so hot and humid that your body temperature goes up even in shade, and they're not at that point yet, but it could go up in the summer in India. If that happens, you will see a lot of people going into hospitals and a lot of people suffering from it. Now I want to talk about Netflix, and Netflix has been losing a lot of money at the moment, and it says they lost 50 billion recently, but they also said that they lost a lot of money because they had to leave the Russian market. And yeah, everything kind of happened at once. They left the Russian market, but they have been losing billions recently because their programs are really woke. I don't know if anyone watches Netflix. It's the wokest crap I've ever seen in my life. I mean, programs like Bridgerton, I mean, it's so historically inaccurate. It is so woke. For example, they have a black woman who's a queen, right? Correct me if I'm wrong, but black people were slaves at the time, where, you know, basically black people were used as slaves by the British. You know, there was no black queen. And now you have the latest episode of Bridgerton. You have basically an Indian girl who's basically like some sort of royalty and something. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but Indians were colonized back in the day by UK, and Indians were looked at as low class by the British. They didn't care about Indians at all. And you know, there are signs in India where no dogs or Indians were allowed, and you know, it's absolutely ridiculous. It's historically not accurate at all. And you have a lot of woke crap in Netflix. You know, they're basically pandering to the minority. And every program you watch on Netflix is just woke crap this, woke crap that, pandering to this, pandering to that. And some of my favorite shows that I enjoyed growing up with when I was a kid, the bloody Netflix has destroyed it. One of them is He-Man. And He-Man, they made it into complete bait and switch, completely destroyed his character, made him gay, made him weak, and destroyed my childhood. Another show they've destroyed is Star Trek. And the latest series of Star Trek is so woke crap. I mean, it's laughable how woke it is. I mean, that requires a separate video, because I can't tell you how bad Star Trek was under Netflix, and that was it for me. I had to cancel my Netflix subscription after watching Star Trek. I couldn't take any more of that. But yeah, I mean, they deserve losing all of this money, really. And the saying goes, when you go woke, you go broke. And it's happening everywhere. It's happening in Disney as well. Disney is losing a lot of money by going woke. And over the years, they could have made so much more money. Disney could have made so much more money if they didn't go in the woke direction. You will see some of the latest Marvel stuff has gone completely woke. I went to see Doctor Strange 2 yesterday, and I must admit, it's complete woke trash, absolute woke trash. You know, I love Marvels normally. You know, I love the original Marvels, and I grew up watching the comics and reading the comics, and I loved the first Iron Man, and you know, it went on from there. And you know, the first Avengers was great, Avengers Infinity War, and then you started noticing some of this woke crap stuff with the Endgame, and you realize, oh shit, this is the direction they want to go with. And they released Captain Marvel as well, you know, absolute woke trash. And you can see, you know, they are definitely going in that direction. And now they have gone into the next phase, and it's completely woke trash. Every single Marvel program is just woke. And you're talking about Eternals, absolute woke. You're talking about Shang-Chi, woke. You know, you talk about basically Doctor Strange 2. And some of the woke part of Doctor Strange 2 is a girl called American Chavez. And that's her actual name. America Chavez is her name. I mean, can you imagine giving your child the name America Chavez? I mean, what kind of name is that? It's like, if I had that name and I went to school, I would be bullied for days, for weeks, for all my life if I went to school with that kind of name. You know, call myself America. It's absolutely ridiculous. You know, this is so stupid. I mean, America Chavez, it's just the most stupidest, ridiculous name I've ever heard in my life. And what's worse is her parents, she's got two mums. You know, basically it's two mums, and they gave her that name, and I think it's absolutely cruel. Absolutely cruel. And there's one bit where, you know, she's a little kid, and a little bee lands on her hand, and she's got this power about opening wormholes into other dimensions and other universes. And she got so scared of this bee in her hand, she opens a wormhole and she kills her two mums. You know, this basically her two mums get sucked into this wormhole and they disappear. And she's blamed herself ever since, all because of, you know, a little bee had landed in her hand. And my answer to that is, if she had a man in her life, she had a real father, that would not happen. That's what you get for having two women as your mom and dad. Seriously, if she had a man in her life and a real dad, she wouldn't be scared of a little bee. And I'm sorry to say, Doctor Strange 2 is a bait and switch movie. So what this bait and switch does is, you know, you go in to watch the film expecting a Doctor Strange film, but it's not like that at all. You know, he gets overstaged by America Savage, by Wanda. Basically, he gets overstaged by every single woman in the film. And Doctor Strange powers, he's made to look like a weakling. He's literally weaker than he was when he fought against Thanos or fought in Endgame. You would imagine that he would get stronger. But no, you know, he's actually gone weaker, and these women are basically overstaged him, and he's just a side character in his own movie. And it's just a shame how Marvel is doing this bait and switch thing, and it's happening with every single major character in Marvel. We're talking about a female Iron Man that's going to be coming out soon. You got female Thor, you got female Hawkeye, you know, you got female Loki. Every single major male character has got now a female counterpart. But guess what? They don't do it to women. You know, they don't do it to women. So you have Doctor Strange 2. You have all of these bait and switch people going on, especially when they're in another universe. But guess what they do to Captain Marvel? You know Captain Marvel is a woman, right? So you would think that they would bait and switch Captain Marvel and make that into a man in another universe. But no, they don't do that. They basically they just race swap it instead. They just turn the white woman into a black woman. But no, we're not going to change Captain Marvel into a man. No, we're not going to do that. But all of the male characters in every single Marvel universe get bait and switched to women. You know, it's happening one way. It doesn't happen the other way. It's absolutely ridiculous. And, you know, I'm fed up with all this woke nonsense. Anyway, guys, that's another video, and I'll probably talk about it in my film channel if I get time. So that's all for today for now, and I'll see you soon. Take care. Bye.